Pine nuts are the edible seed produced by certain types of pine tree. They've been eaten in Asia and Europe for hundreds of years. An innovative Blenheim company is producing high-value pine nuts from a plantation based in the Wairau Valley.
We're growing Pinus pinea pine nuts. It's Mediterranean stone pine, they call them. It's common throughout southern Europe. We extract the kernels from the seeds and sell them back to the Europeans. So it's Coles to Newcastle a wee bit. 20 years ago, this land wasn't really considered valuable land. The idea was to create a crop that grew on hard, semi-viable land. Unfortunately, it's become expensive land now because of the vineyards, but at the time the idea was to get an income off land that otherwise wouldn't produce a decent income. We had to buy the land, plant the trees, grow the trees, grow some pine cones. It took 10 years to we've sort of got any pine cones at all. Then we had to work out how to process them. And then we had to work out if we could sell them and what we could sell them for, and then we could do a business plan. Once we've done that, that was sort of 15 years in the making. Once we'd done that, we worked out it's probably $1 in it. It became a scale thing. We needed more pine trees. So we've been planting the last 4 years. We've planted another 400,000 trees to get the scale we need. And then we've just invested in this new factory. And so we're really on the cusp of sort of making some money. We're selling about a tonne a year in New Zealand. We're not pushing it very hard. We're trying to sort of just keep it to a couple of shops in every town. We don't want to flood the market. The Spanish will buy as much as we can produce, and currently got emails in there screaming at me to send more pine nuts. So selling them's not the problem, it's having them that's hard. Our pine nuts are bigger than theirs, but apart from that, they're no different. So it's good quality. And their productivity, they can't believe the productivity we get. We've made every mistake in the book, and my Spanish friends quite a laugh at me. First thing we did was plant them too close together, being forestry people. We planted them at 6 by 3, and you'll look at it now, it's 6 by 6. We had to cut every second one down at about year 10 because there was too many trees. That was one of the good mistakes. Lots of little stuff, but nothing major apart from that. It's just all been new knowledge rather than doing things wrong, just learning how to do things. It's been exciting the whole way. Yeah, I'm a tree person, and the day they were planted in the ground, I was excited. And the day we got our first pine cone was a big day. We saw our first pine cone. And then, the day we did our first export to Spain, just last year, we sent 1.2 tonnes to Spain, and that was pretty exciting. So, it's been exciting the whole way. I've been enjoying it. They're a Mediterranean stone pine. They come from the desert coasts of North Africa and Spain. They're really, really hardy. They're sort of a bit like growing gorse bushes. They're pretty easy to grow. They're a lot even hardier root-wise than a radiata. In the droughts, these are the only green thing in the valley. We get between about 10 and 30 pine cones per tree, 50 pine cones per tree, somewhere around there. Probably the average would be 18. There's 100 seeds in each pine cone. It takes 65 pine cones to make a kilo. So we harvest them 2 different methods. We use the pole method until they get too tall, and then we use our tree shaker. The tree shaker is like a olive tree shaker. It's just bigger. It's sort of adapted in Spain. They used to shake olive trees, and then one day they worked out they could shake small pine nut trees. So they just made a bigger machine. It's a hydraulic clamp, just clamps onto the tree, gives it a good shake. When the pine cones are ripe, they pop off really easily. It's sort of a distinguishing factor with Pinus pinea, how easy the pine cones come off. We do some tests on them. We pull them to bits and we have a look at the kernels. The kernels have a small brown skin inside. If the brown skin comes off the kernel, it's ripe. If it's still connected to the kernel, it's sort of acting like the placenta to the seed, and that means the pine nut isn't ripe. These trees you're looking at are 17 years old. We've done one prune on them up to 1 metre, and we're due to do another prune on them. We have to prune them so the tree shaker can get on them. We have to have the tree shaker about 2 metres up. If we have it down any lower, the ground soaks up the vibration and the cones don't come off. It's got a lot to do with soil types. If you get them in a stressful situation, they'll produce in sort of 5, 6, 7 years. These soils are very fertile, and these are more like 10 years before they start producing. Somewhere between 200 and 300 years, they'll keep producing every year. Yeah, a good tree will produce, I've seen trees in Italy produce 1,000 cones, and they'll produce sort of between 500 and 1,000 cones every year. for up to 200-300 years. This is just a young tree that's producing quite well, and what I wanted to show you was these are the 2015 crop, these pine cones here. These are the crop that we're going to pick this winter. And then this is our 2016 crop. This will be the cones that get picked next winter. And then up here we can see there's our 2017 crop, and our 2018 crop will appear in November this year. Little wee tiny flowers that'll be quite prominent on the tops of the trees, and they'll get pollinated with the wind. Pine nut trees are hermaphrodites. They have the female flowers on top and the male flowers down bottom. This is only a young tree, so it hasn't got any male pollen, but normally you'd expect to see from about this level down would be pollen. That's the stuff that in September turns New Zealand yellow. Yeah. These flower just a little bit later than the radiators. Big pollen clouds, they blow sideways and fertilise the flowers that are going to come out on top up here. We run the process in 3 stages. The first stage is done outside, it's removing the seeds from the cones. The second stage is cracking, which is getting the kernel out of the seed. Third stage is cleaning the seed, or cleaning the kernel. This room's pretty much dedicated to cleaning and sorting. We've got an optical sorter in the corner there. It takes all the discoloured pine nuts out for our second grade. 2 big dryers, they dry the pine nuts out once they've been washed. Probably about half the time in the factory spent in this room. Growing pine nuts is easy, but processing them is a real mission. And we've been surprised by how in-depth it is. See, the machinery is all flash and shiny and it's all computer run, but really the technology is not a lot different from the way the Romans used to do it a couple of thousand years ago. It's just done in an automated, clean fashion. It couldn't handle the pine cones off 1 million pine trees every year. We're exporting these to Europe for about $80 a kilo. We're selling them in New Zealand for about $100 a kilo. They get sold in the shops in Europe for about $130 a kilo. There's investment in money, but there's investment in time too. We've been going 20 years now and we still haven't really done anything other than pay the wages. So yeah, huge investment I guess, but it's been fun.
This program was made with funding from New Zealand On Air.